Thank you for having me.
Well, that would be Neal, but I'm enjoying extra people here too. This is a great group, I think.
So welcome to the Natural Balance Masterclass. This is a 1 hour masterclass that's a reoccurring masterclass every single Monday at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. How did you find out about this class, Forrest?
Through the Telegram group, one of the San Salvador Telegram groups.
Amazing. All right. And Noel is actually living in on the same land where I'm located at. So we're on different screens on the same property. So I'm familiar with Noel, and you're a new face for us. That's why I'm inquiring. So what is natural balance? Well, natural balance, it's a global movement, and it's global because it's something that it's a way of being that has a specific location in the body where it's located. And you're like, well, how can a way of being have a specific location? Well, the specific location is not where it's housed, it's where it's just like coming through. And where the specific location is in the body is precisely in the heart space. And natural balance is it's what's left when you stop doing. When you just start to be and come from your heart and express your gift and express your talent, and that's natural balance. And as the movement of natural balance, I'm the founder, and I'm also a facilitator, and we do these online virtual events, and then we also have physical in-person events. And I'll speak more about that later. So my commitment with natural balance is to nurture balance and cooperation within myself, first of all, to open my balance and cooperation to a degree where I can facilitate others nurturing their balance and cooperation within themselves. And as a byproduct of doing this, what happens is our external reality begins to reflect the balance and cooperation we've nurtured inside of ourselves. And so that's my commitment. That's what natural balance is. And so today, just right before this call, was a super interesting conversation of co-creation and collaboration with other landowners and with people who are community oriented, who are looking for sustainability. And I'm not looking for sustainability. I'm all about regenerative. I'm not looking to sustain. I'm looking to produce so much that there's more than enough. It regenerates itself, and there's like so much left over. You don't know what to do with all the fruit, with all the vegetables. And so I'm on the regenerative path. And with this conversation today, it came up. One of these landowners that lives in Fuente Verde, and which is in the Diamante Valley,
Yeah,
was speaking.
I'm going to go see them soon.
What's that?
I think they have an event coming up as well. I'd like to attend.
There's many events going on in Fuente Verde. And yeah, I'm gonna speak to like how to be here. You're already doing it, and what you're doing is including yourself fully. So if at any point you want to share something, if you have an expression of interest, please share, please speak up. That's one way to be here. It is beneficial if you can raise your hand, and then there you can raise your physical hand or your virtual hand. Both are options, and that way this allows for space for a person to finish a conversation, and then we can, Noel and I and whoever's here can literally give all our attention to you while you're communicating.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate it.
yes. And so what this conversation was with this specific person was this vision of 10 communities that are whole and complete. So they're totally regenerative communities, but they're not regenerative all on the same thing. For example, one community builds bamboo structures, and it's like literally their specialty. This community is a bamboo structure building community. Another village is like the citrus growing community. Like they just excel, their land just excels at growing citrus, and so they grow citrus. And then having a website where all these 10 communities are on there and what their orientation is and what their values are and what they offer, and having this be a place of opportunity where if, let's say, 10 people come into one community and it's only like a match for one or two of these people, and what it's a match for is the natural balance that's in their heart. And then these other 9 or 10 people, maybe they align with some of the values or some of the products or whatever's being produced at, or even services at these other villages. And having this network of communities that are interconnected that can deploy people to villages based on their soul alignment. And I thought this was a really relevant conversation to bring to this space this evening. And so I just wanted to share that. And then I want to open it up for sharing and just see what is there after you've heard Neal speak to what I just spoke to now. So yeah, shares. Go for it, Noel. You're muted.
I forgot,
Noel, you're muted. There you go.
I forgot your name, Galaxy. If I took it in, I didn't take it in. If
I'm Forrest. I say I'm Forrest of Oregon.
Forrest from Oregon. Well, Forrest, if you'd like to go first, I would love to have you go first because it looked like you unmuted yourself.
Well, I'm kind of new to Zoom, so if I do anything, it's probably by accident. Um,
You are not visible to us now, so you might have stopped your video.
I did, yeah. So I should be back now.
There you are. Yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well, I went and I was looking for a copy of the message. I was speaking with Michaela, and I specifically sent her a message saying that I wanted to map out Diamante Valley, that that's my intention right now in the community, is to visit everyone I can to learn their values and their unique offerings and possibly act as a guide for people to help find the communities and experiences and people they're looking for.
Wow, how serendipitous. Holy moly. The world is getting like that, man.
Yeah, sounds like an echo. Sounds like an echo in here. But yeah, I mean that was my, unique offerings, values, things like that. Because it's such a warm but diverse place. Everybody is looking for something different. Well, I'm new here, so I've only been here a few months. I barely know Diamante Valley, but I've already had this idea, trying to get myself oriented. I have a really strong feeling that I'm supposed to be here somewhere, and I do not know where.
Is that complete? Do you want to share more?
I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, I'll go. It's interesting. Today we had a young woman come with a fellow named Merlin, who is one of the community leaders in Costa Rica. We seem to be in a way, a hub, or becoming a hub of the communities because we have one thing. There's elements that each community seems to have that make them stand out, like citrus or I forgot the first one you had mentioned, but oh, bamboo. But in ours, it's, you know, ego demolishing. Maybe that's not the right word, but so many of these communities have gifts and vision and, you know, beautiful hearted people and people who individually, you know, have done a whole lot of work on themselves, but they don't have the interpersonal skill to have it fly, and they don't have necessarily a common enough vision in their commitment to spirituality, a certain level of surrender in a certain direction. And what that seems like what we have at Earthwaking, where I am, is that piece. And because it seems like we keep getting healthier, where other ones keep seeming to get less healthy because their crap just keeps, you know, rising to the surface, and they don't really know how to deal with it. And that seems to be our forte. Our founder is just you know, excellent at that particular thing of like, oh, ego. And then we're all getting the skills, and we're all going through whatever process we have to get cleaned up, and then we're able to do that for more and more people. And so that's like Neal was just coming out of a men's group where, you know, leaders from other communities are actually attracted and come in and work on that stuff. So which I just think is so beautiful, because then, like, you know, if that becomes like a thing that just keeps happening, there's going to be healthier and healthier people. And then people can, my attraction is citrus, you know, my attraction is bamboo, you know, that you literally could have people in all of these different, you know, like an octopus, you know, all these tentacles just doing beautiful things with their little individual arm. And then, you know, the city of, you know, the country of Costa Rica just becomes just rife with wellness. And that really must be the plan on some level, at least as far as our founder was really like, he used to be a blackout drunk, ignorant, atheist beach bum. That's how he describes himself. And he had kind of a interaction with God that said, you're going here and you're doing this, and just stay out of my way. And so this is a place where all that's supposed to happen. And apparently indigenous people are also, like, prophecy is coming true, and people that have hid themselves away for generations are now coming out of the hills and mountains and on the move to help things come to fruition. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna ask a question, which is, what does your soul want? And I'm gonna answer the question. I'll start by going first, and then
Okay.
I'd love to hear your answers. My soul, like, wants food sovereignty, like, and I'm talking on a global level. Food sovereignty globally, water sovereignty, um, global community that's all interacting with each other. Like, free energy, like, literally it's just available. And it also wants, like, purpose, like soul, like alignment, like having actual direction, that's not ego distortion, but that's actually clear alignment. So my soul wants these things, and what I'm really being called to right now, and what, like, my passion personally is, as this avatar Neal, is food sovereignty, and being a intuitive garden master, and bringing this aspect of permaculture um, to this community, yes, but to also to other communities, and then having this be something that like, my children grow up in, and that their children's children are, like, eating fruits from trees that we've planted, and reaping benefits from things that we've implemented in our generation. So that's what my soul wants, and I'm already on the path. I'm already taking the steps. I'm already planting the seeds. As a matter of fact, I'm already, like, growing trees like that have grown from seeds from fruit that we've eaten. Is phenomenal. It's like one of the best feelings ever. And the feeling for Neal that tops that feeling of seeing a tree grow from seed is to then take that tree that has been grown from seed and then plant it in its permanent location, where that tree is going to live out the rest of its life. So that's like one of my greatest joys is to plant something in its home, which is an acronym for Heaven on Mother Earth, where it's going to live out the rest of its days. So yeah, I want to open up the question to you, Forrest, and to you, Noel. What does your soul want?
Yeah, I'll go first. Second, or that is. Well, I'd have to say probably healing, is really where I'm focused right now. It's hard for me to think a generation or two ahead because I don't feel like I'm in a space right now where I'm really fully able to contribute. Like I said before, I'm new here, and and I mean that in a lot of ways. I feel like I just woke up. I feel like I just got here, and I just woke up out of a bad dream, and I'd like to live a better life than what I remember. And I don't know exactly what that means. It's hard for me to describe. But it's a lot of the same things that I keep hearing in this community. Sustainability, or growth beyond sustainability, um, ego death. Psychedelics have been a big part of the brightest parts of my life, and yeah, I like grapefruit.
Epic. Thank you for sharing. Is that complete, or do you want to share more?
I think that's it. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
What does my soul want? My soul has wanted since I was very young, very small, just a loving world that was sane, a sane and loving world. I'm 64 years old, and I'm pleased to say that I live in one. Finally. And I want to share that sane and loving world with everyone. It has been such a constant, and I think, I do believe in God. I was raised like atheist. My stepfather wrote a book called The Lucifer Principle, Biological Roots of Evil. Absolutely militant, not, and I was when I was a kid. I just spent a lot of effort talking people out of believing in God, and some of my young friends still don't. Don't feel terrific about that now. But I do believe in God now. I had a mental, events when I was in my 20s that put me in the mental hospital repeatedly, and they were my introduction to God. And there was just no other word I could put on it because it was so big and it was so counter to the hell that I had lived in until in my 20s. And then I kind of went back in and out of hell for a while. But there's just has always been, there's got to be a better way to do this than the way we're doing it. And it has been so consistent. And then I found some volunteer work I did in prisons, which I have done for 30 years. I just recently, since COVID, haven't been going in, but before that I was. And I took what I learned in the prison and started doing it in the mental industry, helping people who were diagnosed like me, or at least I was, yeah, I did. There were people who transformed with this process like I did. But in any case, so it just feels like my soul has wanted that the whole way through. I've been doing things in that direction the whole way through. And because my will is aligned with God's will in that regard, I have progressively gotten closer. And now I found Earth Waking, and I believe that they are, as our founder believes, we are like a pivotal piece of awakening this planet and inviting heaven to earth, which was the plan all along. Our kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So anyway, that is my soul's desire, and it's been a pretty steady, trajectory the whole way. And I think it's coming true now. Hallelujah. Amen. I am complete.
Thank you. So now, like, really grounding in this question, and grounding in the question, what does your soul want? Yes. And now going a step further and really grounding in the answer that you just presented. And let's breathe together. Let's take a moment. If you feel called, you can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. Let's just take a deep breath in.
If I may interrupt.
Go for it.
Oh, come on. I'm not sure if you can see it.
We're looking out your window.
Yeah, large ground bird there in the tree. The resolution's not going to be very good.
Yeah, I'm not able to see the bird, but I did see the tree move where it was located at.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. It kind of looks like it has a quail piece. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I think it might be a guan.
Okay.
A GAUN. They are epic. They're like turkeys. They're like big turkeys.
It was pretty big, yeah.
Wow. What color?
Oh, well, there they are again. It looks like it's got a red nose and kind of a dark blue body. At first, I thought it might be Oropendula because I think I can see a red beak, but I don't see any yellow tail feathers.
All right, so we're here now in this conversation. So I'm going to ask you now, Forrest, what does that bird represent to you personally?
Well, the beauty of being here. I mean, that one's pretty simple. Just pure radiant, perfect beauty of nature. And that's the sort of beauty that I've wanted to get closer to.
Is that complete, or do you want to share more about what it represents?
I think I'm complete.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Do we want to breathe?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right. So eyes closed or eyes open. Let's just take a deep breath in. Let it all go. Start to feel your toes, feel your heart, feel this present moment. Another deep breath in. And letting it all go. One more deep breath in, breathing in white light, white healing energy. And then holding the breath and experiencing the white light energy healing the cells of the body. And then as you exhale, exhaling the shit, exhaling what you had going on earlier, exhaling what's going on in the future. Just being here right now. And if your eyes are closed, you can join us when you're ready. If your eyes are open, welcome.
Thank you. That was swell.
You're welcome. So from the present moment, anything's possible. Everything exists in the present moment. The present is actually all that there is. And so we're here, and in this present, I'm going to bring a conversation of power versus force. And it's not even so much a versus as it's a conversation about where the place is that we're operating from. Force is it's an aspect that the ego uses because the ego's greatest joy is control and manipulation. The ego essentially has it has four ways that it speaks to other people. The first way is the ego says, "This is my perception," and then it will share its perception. The ego will say, "This is my expectation," and then it'll share its expectation. The ego will say, "This is my truth," and then it'll share its truth. It'll say like, "I'm a puppy." It's like, no, you're a human. But the ego, the my truth is like, but I say that I'm a puppy. Well, the truth is you're a human. Like the truth is you're a soul, but you're in a human body. You're not in a puppy body. So the ego uses my truth to identify with illusions and to make things up. And that's why it's a my truth. It's not the truth. And then the last phrase that the ego uses to communicate, and this is the fourth one, is the ego says, "This is my opinion." And it'll share its opinion. And the truth doesn't have an opinion. The truth is just like pure discernment. And discernment eliminates all opinions. So if there's opinions involved, there's ego involved. And there's an aspect that runs through these four components, which are the my part. And the my part is this taking of ownership. And the ego wants to also feel significant. So by taking ownership, it'll be like, "Hey, look at me! Like I'm this significant being that is being recognized." And the ego just like it just gets like turned on by that. And it'll do anything. It'll use force to control and manipulate conversations, to control and manipulate it where it's physically low. Like it'll move the body literally to control like what's happening in the physical dimension with a person. And what the ego uses is force. It's like it doesn't care what it needs to do to accomplish what it intends to accomplish. It just is like forceful. And so the ego also operates out of attachment. Um, and um, and so with this attachment, once it's like latched onto something, and the ego might even say that this is its purpose. It'll be like, "Oh, there's this thing that I'm being called to," and it'll literally create an entire construction that this is its life purpose. And then it'll go after it to feel significant for having a purpose. Like the ego will literally make up a purpose to fulfill. uh, and it's all forceful. And when we're standing in our ego, we are standing in an illusion. The ego is like it's a brain construction. It's what we're not. And when we're like operating from our ego and we're operating from this ego purpose, which is this illusionary purpose that the ego constructed to fulfill, to feel significant, when we're operating this way, the ego literally most times the soul is completely identified with the ego, and it's merged with it to the point where it doesn't know the difference between the ego and itself. And that happens as we're growing up in this world. Like initially we come in pretty egoless. We come in like we're fresh from the other side. We're like a baby master. The only difference is once we start to use words, that mastery gets distorted because we're using words to point towards something that's beyond words. So how can words ever describe the thing that we're pointing at? And now online comes the ego. And the ego is programmed in by our parents. It's programmed in by school systems, by education. It's programmed in by preachers. It's programmed in by churches. It's programmed in by newspapers, by media, by social media, literally by our friends. We receive their programs from their ancestors, from their parents. And then the ego creates this construction of all these programs, and it thinks that it is the programs, and then it puts this name on it that says, hi, my name is Forrest, or hi, my name is Neal, or hi, my name is Noel. And the name is part of the egoic construction. There's this aspect of us. So I'm going to speak about like the three selves, and the Chinese talk about it, and so I'm going to use them as an example. And the three selves are, here's how the Chinese talk about it, and then I'm going to share how we speak about it here in Natural Balance. And so how the Chinese talk about it is they say there's one face that you wear when you're out in the world, when you're just interacting. Let's take going and getting groceries, for example. When you're out and about among other people, you wear a face. And then they say there's another face that you wear when you're with your family. When you're around your family, you wear this other face, and that's how you interact with your family. And then they say there's this third face that you wear when nobody else is around. It's like the part of you that's like the real you. It's like the soul essence. And most people actually, most of the time, even don't express this soul essence even when they are alone. Most people, most of the time on this planet, die having never even discovered their true soul essence, and they just live a life of the mask of what they've been showing to the world. And so now speaking to it, how we communicate about it here at Natural Balance is there's the ideal self, there's the real self, and then there's the true self. And the ideal self, it's the ego. The ego is part of it, but it's not the entirety of it. The ideal self is this mask, and it's this smile you wear when you feel like shit inside. It's this part of you who's like out, like you meet someone and they're like, "How are you?" And you're like, "I'm great," and like inside you like feel like shit, and you like wear a smile, and it's fake. The ideal self is the liar self also. So it's this construction that we layer on top of ourselves to present ourselves to the world. So then when you go a layer deeper, you access the real self. And the ideal self is all like brain. It's here, it's like in the head. And when you access the real self, you enter into the throat region, and you enter into the emotional self. And the emotional self is the part of you that was feeling like shit when you were like sharing the fake smile. So the emotionals, once you access the real self, you're like, oh, and also in the ideal self is mostly about like people pleasing. Because it doesn't know who it is, it doesn't know its soul essence. So it's trying to go and figure out what it needs to do to make other people happy. So that's why it's lying all the time, because it's not being true to its soul. It's just asking, hey, what do I need to do to get that person to like me? And then it goes and does that. And it does that to the point of exhaustion. The ideal self will kill the physical body to please other people. And it does this. And so when you drop the mask, when you're like, fuck it, I no longer care what people think about me. Like fuck them and fuck me. And because I'm done doing this fake smile. I'm ready to be real. And when we be real, that's when we show our emotions in public. Like we don't even, if we're feeling like crying, we let it rip. We're like, man, I'm feeling like crying right now. Like I don't care who's around. Like, why you just go. That's the real self. And then this third aspect of us is the true self. And this is where the heart comes in. And the kingdom of God is where? It's within. It's not something out there, it's something in here. And when we access the true self, we access the kingdom. And this true self is this innocent, whole, complete part of ourselves that always has been, it always is, and it always will be. So it's never changing, it's never been distorted. You could also see it as your higher self. You could also see it as love. You could also see it as God. It's the part in me, that's the part in Noel, that's the part in Forrest, that's the part in the tree, that's the part in the grass. It's like the interconnectedness between all things is this true self. And this true self, when we start to access the real self, we start to access power. But when we fully access the true self, that's when we literally are the full embodiment of power. And power is not force. Power is communicating softly and having your words literally move physical matter. And you're not forcing anything. You're just literally just communicating, and mountains move. Power is vulnerability. So when you're being like super vulnerable, you're super powerful. And power is speaking vulnerably to people as their inner child. So like speaking to this innocent part in them as their true self, and you're seeing them in their highest expression. And so with power, you're also surrendering. And what it is you're surrendering is all of your ego's desires and all of your ego's purpose. Uh, this is big. This is what nobody wants to do, and this is what's essential to access power. So power is it's this place that we access when we surrender our ego desires, when we surrender our ego path. And then so there's two parts. There's the surrender first, and then the next step is this allowing. And what we're allowing is to be guided by a heart. What we're allowing is for our higher self to express through us. What we're allowing is for us to be like soul authentic to the core of who we are. Not to some story that somebody's told us, but literally going to the essence. That's power. And power is when we're in alignment with source. And so I've been speaking a lot, and been speaking about power and force. And I've opened up this can of power versus force, and I want to pass the can and around and see what your comments and questions are, and how you see this dynamic playing out in your life.
All right. A lot of big ideas there. So, along with power and force, it's also related to ideal self, real self, and true self. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can relate. I can definitely relate to what you're saying. And for me, it's kind of, how do I say it? I also have a lot of trouble communicating simple spiritual truths with words. It's one of the first things I think, because what you say resonates as far as the different categories. But anytime there starts to be a category that's a word, we have words to make categories, right?
Correct.
And for me, I can understand kind of these archetypes that you're putting forward. And like, I would say something like ridiculous, like the ego is godly. I would just start inverting the whole system. Because for me, I feel that unification. What I feel is I feel that unification of ego and soul. And I feel myself moving towards a very comfortable ideal self. I've never experienced that in my life before. Only in the last 3 months have I achieved an ideal self. And I kind of feel really comfortable here right now. And it is exhausting. I can say it is tiring, it is draining, and it is seeking the approval of others. I can see that. But for me, it's not perfectly too simple to transition from one into another, and simply leave the old one behind. And as far as force goes, and did you say strength?
Force and power.
Force and power. I think that the way I would see it is, in the long run, power is preferred and power is stronger. But we live in a world that is now, that is in the short-term future. We don't live in our children's future. We live today. And the world I see is governed by force. So I leave room in my mind for the use of force, but I understand the difference, and the strength of remind me again, force and
Power.
the strength, power. So personally, I don't use force. I've never really been in a situation where I felt a need to. But I can't dismiss it entirely as a tool. As my ego would say, I have objectives in the world. And were a certain obstacle to come up, I could see myself in a certain situation using force.
Yeah.
So I think that's an honest and complete description of my my response.
Is that complete, or do you want to share more?
It is complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that was a badass share for us. Like that was completely authentic. Yeah, I acknowledge you for being real. Like, yeah, you just shared literally what was coming up for you, and Thank you. I acknowledge you for this. Noah, what's fresh for you?
Okay. I wondered if you had any like feedback for him on his, if you care to, you don't have to just have me take a turn. It's up to you. I'm happy to go though.
You're asking me.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like you
Mhm.
might have a little conversation with him if you felt tweaked in some way, like there was some interest.
No, I
Nope.
feel complete. Yeah, I fully received what Forrest said, and I totally see the perspective you're operating from. Like yeah, it's valid, and I see this. Like I think we keep force as a tool until we don't, until we step into full faith, and I think force is there until faith overrides it. So yeah, I'm complete with that aspect, and I'll ask you again, Noel, what's fresh for you? And I do have something, but I do want to ask you first.
Okay, well, first I'll just share this is a bunch of little aspects that I'll share. But what the first one is, Neal teaches me twice a week something called body movement flow, and it's like a Japanese martial arts mixed with yoga, maybe Tai Chi, a little of this, a little of that, and it's really been profound for me because it's helping me to, I think it's access my masculine aspects that I was really not. Very, I mean, I do it in a kind of distorted way, but I mean there's certain ways that I'm stepping into confidence that with this body movement stuff that I wasn't before. And the reason that I kind of was like, you want to say anything, is because his teaching is largely to me about that thing about when you're in faith, then you actually might find yourself in a forced situation, but it would be one in which you were guided by God or love. I'm not acting here in a forceful manner unless that is what's called for, and I'm not the decider of that. And so it like, that's kind of something that really has this happens in communication all the time because I am kind of an impulsive communicator, and it will be some push in me that wants to have attention or significance, and I really, since I came to the village, which was about 6 months ago, the first 2 or 3 months I was in dire shape. It was freaking painful because a bunch of people were putting up mirrors on my behavior, and one person literally said, just do not initiate anything. So I'd sit at this table that's like a mandatory time we spend together and not open my mouth, but watch myself have these impulses to do these things, to say these things, to want to have people, value me in some way. And it was all about this starving child who didn't get her needs met, 60 odd years ago. It's a little humiliating. But anyway, so that was that aspect. Another aspect, I just wanted to say that you have shared your definition, those, 4 aspects of ego with me before, but you did not use the word expectation. You used the word experience. So opinion, um, uh, my perspective, my truth, and my experience were the 4. So you used the word expectation this time. So I didn't know if you have changed I just noticed that.
I think it ties directly into experience because you're speaking about I think they can be one and the same thing, and I think
I
that's why
see
I
that.
shared it.
Yeah, now
Yeah,
that you mention it, because you
because
wouldn't
the
have the
expectation
expectation.
is an experience to be expected.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah,
So,
you're welcome.
and then the other thing,
Um,
this has been strong for me throughout this thing because you mentioned healing in the beginning as something that you're interested in, your soul is kind of hungering for. And we do these technologies of emotional breakthroughs. Specifically, what came to mind in relation to you was something that we call the regression breakthrough. And we're doing them all the time on ourselves and each other in this community because the suffering that we're experiencing, which relates to ego, relates to power and force, is because at some point in time, we made a decision about ourselves. We've probably made several, but there's like some absolute foundational decisions that are the product of trauma that happened to us when we're really little. You know, daddy said this nasty thing to me, and all of a sudden I realized I'm a piece of shit. I'm not worthy of anything, you know, whatever it is. Some of these little things that happen that your parents might not even remember, or maybe very large things that were, you know, raped by your father or something. I mean, you know, it could be anything. But what the problem is not so much the event, it's how we interpret the event. We are the children of God. We are the powerful creators. So when the thing happens, a child will make a decision. I'll give you a real quick example. My parents were fighting one summer because neither of them wanted to have me. They were separated, divorced, and you know, they're like, "No, I don't want her. She's your kid. You take her." So what is a, you know, 3 or 4 year old kid? How will they interpret that? I'm going to tell myself I'm a burden, I'm a mistake, I'm worthless, nobody wants me. And I have lived decades with this as like my primary functional, you know, lens, you know, except that it's dysfunctional and it's based on a lie. My parents were teenagers. They had, you know, totally too much of me, and it's not their fault. You know, it had nothing to do with me whatsoever. But because I'm a creator and I interpreted that, I planted a lie seed, and now my garden is filled with these lie seed weeds, and these breakthroughs help people to divest themselves of these lie seed weeds. And when you take a lie out, it's gone. It's like the darkness is, you know, the light came in, the darkness is not there anymore. So that's what this technology is. And I volunteer, by the way, if you have an interest, I would be happy to do a regression breakthrough with you sometime, because I love doing them. They benefit the recipient as well as the provider very powerfully in both cases. So that's my entire share. Thank you.
Is that complete, or do you want to share more?
Yes, no, I felt very much, I saved it all up and I just let it all out.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to briefly speak about the physical ceremonies of natural balance. So natural balance has facilitated 9 ceremonies. One of those was a crystal planting ceremony on a Grace 2 property, which is we call it Grace 2. That's just what we call the property. But it's a 50-acre property that's located to the right of San Isidro, up in the mountains. So that this crystal burying planting ceremony was the first ceremony of natural balance. And then after that, natural balance has facilitated psilocybin mushroom ceremonies. It'd be now 7 in total. And then we've also facilitated a cacao in combination with ecstatic dance in person here in the village. And on this upcoming Thursday, on the 25th, which is a full moon, and it's actually a really profound full moon because like we're moving into Aquarius, which is an entirely new energy from where we've been in, and we're going to be in this energy for decades to come. So we're actually in a massive energetic shift on the planet right now. And on this upcoming Thursday, on the 25th, at 5 o'clock p.m., Natural Balance is hosting a live, physical, in-person psilocybin mushroom ceremony here in Platinillo. And where it'll be facilitated is in nature itself. So we're literally going to be, there's a stream that is going through the middle of the ceremony space. So we're literally doing this in nature, right next door to a food forest that we've implemented here. Is connected to the same land, but where the space is being held is literally in the jungle. There's an opening, and there's no roof except the trees and the stars. And that's happening this Thursday. So you're invited. And if you're interested, if anybody here is interested, how you'll be at this ceremony is by reaching out to Michaela. And Michaela is a Czech woman who is co-facilitating this specific upcoming ceremony. So those are like physical aspects of what Natural Balance has facilitated. I know there's some things coming up in this year that are exponential to what have already been manifested. So I'm looking forward to what's to come, and I'm grateful and humbled for what's already been facilitated, and the people that have been willing to go first and to like take a look inside and be like, hey, I actually would love to nurture some balance and cooperation and bring this into my life. And so that's this aspect of the physical aspect of natural balance. And one more thing I'm going to speak to: do we want homework, or do we not want homework? Because we can do both. What do you want, Forrest?
I guess it depends on what that entails.
Yeah, that is a yes. Yes. What about you, Noel?
Well, I exactly feel the same way. I have so much on my plate and I'm hardly, things are falling off left and right. But if it was some kind of like mindset or something that I could like tune in with, I would be definitely down with it. If it wasn't something
Let's
too impacting.
I'm gonna propose this. So here's the proposal. The homework is to notice in the moment when you're being powerful, when you're being vulnerable, when you're being authentic, and just take note. And then come back this next Monday ready to share how that sucked, or how that was really great, or how it really didn't change much. How's that?
Works for
Sounds
me.
great.
All right. This is complete. Thank you for being here. You don't got to go home, but I'm going to close this room. So good night.
All right. Thank you, Neil. That was lovely. Have a good night.
You're
Good night.
welcome.
Great to meet you, Forrest.
See you soon.
Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.